Welcome, my 154 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit. And for those of you who think that Rings of Power is going to be a better show than House of the Dragon, I'm going to issue an open challenge, and I'm just going to leave the contract right here for a pretty much unknown person to just take. But if you don't, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite. For the August 31st show, let's begin. So opening segment is Jon Moxley, and he's supposed to be the heel here in Chicago. That's how he talks to the crowd. He badmouths CM Punk, but the crowd just roll with what he's saying. Like he's framing Punk as the crowd's boy. But yeah, they don't boo him right away. He was pretty over with this crowd. But holding a show in Chicago is like cheating. It's like an automatic reaction. And who actually wants the crowd to react to anything? Why not just hold a show in Corpus Christi, Texas, every week? But he does get the crowd against him, eventually. When he starts doubting Punk's injury, he goes for the he wasn't injured, he's just scared card. The sort of he faked it to avoid fighting Mox. Fragile ego, fragile body, weak mind, weak spirit. Great line by Mox. His delivery here was really good, but the underlying booking makes it seem like they just had that match last week. They just squashed Punk for the ratings. When you lose the title in AEW, you're not supposed to have a rematch. No one has had a rematch for the AEW title, ever since the start of the company. So they tried to address that. They tried to get rid of that problem by just having Mox issue an open challenge. I mean, it's something Mox would do, but that's usually how you set up matches for mid-card titles on TV. That's not how you set up a main event match to a pay-per-view. For me, this is lazy booking. Instead of properly building up a feud, you could have had all of this, even if it was just a brawl in the ring and then Punk loses. But yeah, this was a good promo, especially Mox's choice of words, his diction at the end. The indomitable will personified line, the wrestling Jon Moxley is bad for your health. All of that is really good. So third best member of the Shield, my ass. Because if you don't take into account their pushes, Roman doesn't have promo skills even close to Mox. He doesn't have the diction and the vocabulary that Mox has. He just relies too much on catchphrases. But I guess that's how you get idiots who don't understand big words to watch your show. But after this, after Mox leaves, I don't like that backstage producer, Ace Steel, or CM Punk's friend, as commentary keeps pointing out, is the one to take the contract. No offense. Even though Ace Steel does turn out to be an amazing promo later, nobody knows who he is. I only know who he is because of TEW 2020, a mod. So yeah, neither the hardcore fans nor the casuals know who this guy is, and he gets zero pop. At least have him talk a week before, have him appear in backstage segments with Punk, or have Punk take it. And just have Mox eviscerate Punk on the mic as Punk is silent. But yeah, Ace Steel does show us his stuff later, but yeah, that's later on in the show, and he gets big pops later. So after this is Jericho's promo. He finally retorts to Danielson's point that if Jericho's mentors were still alive today, who they think the better wrestler would be. And he gives Danielson credit, but he does make a great point when he flexes his accomplishments. And the crowd pretty much agree with him. And then Daniel Garcia pledges loyalty to JAS. They then kiss each other's asses. And for now, they're good. And Jericho closes this whole thing with the line, all is fair in wrestling and romance. So yeah, great delivery here. Especially by Jericho, no surprise. But I don't know how to feel about Garcia's declaration of loyalty to JAS. I think it would have been better if it was just an internal conflict within Garcia. Because something does happen later that Garcia causes, and it's not his intention. So end result is, it's more he's being forced out of JAS because they think he's a traitor, or like because he's fucking up too much, instead of like him actually choosing to leave the faction. Like him actually choosing to leave would have more impact than him just being kicked out. It's like he's begrudgingly joining BCC. And then we have the match with Jake Hager versus Bryan Danielson. And it might have been the best one-on-one match that Jake Hager has had in AEW, but it was just like so made for TV. It was like a WWE TV match. Okay, so first, weight and size play in the match. The striking by Hager isn't really good, especially the standing ones, but the ones on the turnbuckle, pretty good. Hard chest slap, but that's it. He doesn't make it like bounce back like Omega does. Or he doesn't like stiff his opponents just like in Japan. So Danielson tries to like technical wrestle Jake Hager. And I think this should have been the route they went. But when Hager got back control, it was like we wasted 3 minutes. It was just like so boring. There was like a lot of rest holds, a lot of just like punching and stuff. It was the most basic shit ever. Like again, they could have had like a technical wrestling match, or like at least Jake Hager working on Danielson's ankle. We could have had like a lot of dramatic submission holds, some nice rope breaks, or like at least some nice counters. But we just get it like in the final stretch of the match. This sequence where they go Juji Katami, powerbomb, mounted hammer fist for like the nth time, label lock, ankle lock, and then label lock again. And this might be like spot of the match. Like this is it right here. This is like the high point. If they just like did more of this and less trying to play up to the crowd or like working the crowd ineffectively just like Jake Hager does, this match would have been so much better. Just have Jake Hager be like a machine and not try to be cute with the crowd. And so the finishing sequence is Hager misses a clothesline, Danielson hits the Busaiku knee, 1, 2, 3, finish. So the only spot of the match is that sequence I mentioned earlier, and the rating for this one is just like TV undercard only. And so after the match, JAS attacks, but then BCC make the save, and I like this like self-aware comment by William Regal on commentary, where he says, "Did you think this wasn't gonna happen?" To Chris Jericho, as BCC is just like kicking the asses of like Cool Hand Ange and Daddy Magic. And then Chris Jericho manages to sneak in the ring. He brings his chair and then he just like sneaks in the ring. He like parts the waters. JAS and BCC manage to like cancel each other out, leaving just Danielson in the ring. And then as he's about to hit Bryan Danielson with the chair, Daniel Garcia takes the chair away, and then this manages to distract Chris Jericho enough. And like as this is happening, Danielson is setting up on the other corner, and then we have like a line by Daniel Garcia that obviously we can't hear. So commentary has to like read his lips. They have to like put the words in there. But why not just like give him a microphone? Like I know it's more realistic if it's without a microphone, but this is pro wrestling. Why the fuck not? And as for the content of what Daniel Garcia said, he's like clearly babyface here. He says some babyface lines in order to convince a heel to back down. He tells him that he doesn't need to cheat to beat Danielson. And this is actually like something new. We don't get to see this often, but this gives enough time for Danielson to set up. This distracts Chris Jericho enough, and then he gets hit with a Busaiku knee. And the ending for this is really funny because Garcia just has like an I fucked up face on him. Like he knows he's gonna get fired. And then as Danielson leaves the ring, he just like tries to fist bump Garcia. So yeah, TV match, but that ending was really good. And so after a commercial, the Wingmen are in the ring protesting that they should be on TV more. Like either on Rampage or on Dynamite. They just want to be on TV. And I guess it works since they are on TV. This is like the first time I've seen the Wingmen in like a long time. I even forgot what their deal was. But they are pretty funny. Especially the thing they do with their tips. Peter Avalon just calls for them to touch tips. And then we get the re-debut of W. Morrissey, who just destroys them. He breaks up the protest. pushing them back down to dark or catering. And then Stokely Hathaway shows up and then he tries to recruit W. Morrissey. He accepts. And I hate that we don't get any explanation at all. I mean, it would have worked if he just like silently recruited everyone. But it's a bit inconsistent. And so I don't get why when Tony Schiavone tried to interview him, like it's his job. Stokely just blows up on him, says it's not his business, and then he leaves with Morrissey. So yeah, this could have been much better if just like anyone cut a promo. If we just like had one hint of like explanation by anyone. Or it would have been better if like he actually attacked someone or like a team that is actively against Stokely Hathaway. Like the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Like, why not just have a match with Billy Gunn? Or maybe like Billy Gunn can adopt the faction hunter gimmick. So yeah, it's nice to see the Wingmen. Morrissey could have been debuted better. Or this segment could have been saved if someone just said something. So yeah. And so this better have a nice payoff. And not just Jade Cargill saying cut the shit or whatever. So after this, we have a backstage interview between Alex Marvez and Will Ospreay. And this dude should show up more, like weekly on Dynamite or on Rampage. Like they should rotate their interviewers more. Because mostly we just get Tony Schiavone and Lexi, and Tony Schiavone already has a commentator role. So spread the work, spread the payday to more people. So Will Ospreay again sounds like an orc, doesn't suit his appearance. But it does match him being a heel. But before he gets to say anything substantial, he just tells him that Kenny beat him in NJPW. He's a Kenny Omega wannabe. And Callis is like basically a heel manager for a face wrestler. And I think Ospreay should have like gotten the chance to talk. Or just like have everything in this feud, since this is currently a feud, be televised. Because this whole thing has been built around post-show like videos and like podcasts. So this is pretty much non-canon officially. And like the people at home who like don't keep up with like the internet or the social media of AEW won't know that this is happening. And if it was on TV, it would like shine a light more on Will Ospreay and show how well-rounded he is. So yeah, that's my problem with this. Bit of a misstep right here. Like you could have just removed that whole segment before this and had like a whole segment for Omega and Ospreay. Okay, so after this, we have a tag team match between Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. So I feel like I've seen this combination before, like so many times. Toni Storm has went up against like the team or like them just individually of like Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. And it does show when I talk about the spots in the match. But yeah, let's talk about the match first. So this is Hikaru Shida's like return match to Dynamite. While I believe that Toni Storm works better with Thunder Rosa, her working with Shida is almost just as good. They have chemistry. And crowd really reacts to women's tag team matches more than the singles ones. Because you don't get that like awkwardness that women's matches usually have that I always describe in the channel. And Shida just moves so well in the ring. Like she doesn't botch. There might be like one where there's minimal contact, but it was just like that one time. So Toni Storm was the one getting beaten up, and then she hot tags Shida. They gain control of the match. Shida does her cool shit. She works the crowd well, and she doesn't need to like cheat work the crowd. Just like Toni Storm when she does her like thing. It just looks like genuine enthusiasm. And she doesn't have to like resort to pointing at her ass. As for the heels, they do a lot better job than Jake Hager does in like isolating Toni Storm. They make it more fun to watch, like not just rest holds and stuff. They like cheat. It's faster paced, but there could have been moments where like you do a fake out tag or like have one of the heels like just pull Toni Storm back as she's trying to tag Shida. I don't think I've seen that spot in like a while. But it's high time it makes a comeback. And Jim Ross was like on target on commentary like the whole time. Especially when like Taz phrased his statement like to make a point as a question. It went like, Britt Baker's a dentist, right? And then Jim Ross says, you just found out? Or like something like that. Oh, you didn't know? And that one line about Britt Baker going to school for like ever, since she's like a dentist, if you didn't know. And that finish was just like my cup of tea. It happened so fast. And like the response from Toni Storm happened so fast and like so seamless. It's like they were Rift compatible. And then that finishing move by Hikaru Shida is so much better than just like a running knee. It's like a spin kick, but she does an unsheathing the katana motion. And then she gets the win 1-2-3. Okay, so let's get to the spots of the match. So number 3 is this off the rope double knee by Hikaru Shida. Looks really good. It looks like she's as good with the ropes as Yuka is. But these stupid American fans who have been conditioned by the WWE for like ever will take her more seriously because of her size. Like as a Joshi. For the number 2 spot of the match, it's Shida's finisher. I'm glad that it's not the running knee anymore. This spin kick definitely looks cooler. And again, I love the unsheathing of the katana motion leading to the spin kick. And then for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the whole sequence from when Shida just like did a flying kick out of nowhere on Britt Baker. And then she leaves the ring, like very quietly, very stealthily. And she like takes Jamie Hayter off of her corner. Like she hides under the ring as Jamie Hayter is like cheering on Britt. And I think Rebel is too. So Shida goes completely unspotted and takes Jamie off of the corner. And then like just the response from Toni Storm, like clockwork, it like happens right away. She goes for the hip attack and immediately transitions to an outside DDT to Jamie Hayter, leading to the finisher by Hikaru Shida in the ring. This was a great finish. And I think this could have been like match of the night if it wasn't for that main event. So yeah, great match. I think this is TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match, and is like one of the better women's matches that we've had. Like these women's tag team matches have always hit. Like especially more than the singles matches. And it's glad to have Shida back. She's probably going to improve the quality of those singles matches. And yeah, I think she should get a run with the title. But I don't think she's properly built. For me, I think it's either Britt or Tony's to win. But storyline-wise, I think it's more interesting if Britt wins it. And then like how she wins it is like she screws over her friend. And this ends up like elevating Jamie Hayter. Because Toni Storm, like, for me, isn't at like championship level yet. And it would be too obvious just to give her the belt. And like just having the Britt versus Jamie feud is more interesting for the weeks to come. Or yeah, you could also have Jamie Hayter win this, have Britt be jealous, and have the feud go that way. Like either way is fine. After this, we have the Kip Sabian promo. It's his best promo so far. It's like he's a Riddler type character. It's his most character-driven promo so far, but Pac is just on another level. The Geordie accent just works so much in wrestling. But my problem here is that he just gets a shot at the title, coming off of an injury. He doesn't even have any wins yet, unless he gets a match on Rampage tomorrow, but that's not enough. He didn't even wrestle anywhere else. So how the hell is he in contention for the title? Doesn't make sense. I thought rankings mattered. But yeah, the pay-per-view match is his first match back. Nice to see Kip Sabian again. And this promo was pretty good. It's just like the follow-through to the character. The dude has to like be a better Seth Rollins now. Or like actually do like things that match his character. And I don't know how you could have him lose his first match back. It would like derail his entire return. I think Kip Sabian should win the title. Or like at least have it on Dynamite. Just like have the All-Atlantic Championship on Dynamite, defend it there, and that would be swell. Because currently it's like a floating championship. It's the new FTW title. Little bit higher, but we even see that more than we see this. So after this, we have the Miro promo. It's another one of these ones where he speaks in a dark room. It should honestly happen on TV, like live in the ring. I think it used to happen like this, like in the ring, but it's getting very repetitive. And it's a little different here because now Miro has friends. We have Darby and Sting with him. And the worst performer here is Darby because he just murmurs a lot. And I kind of understand the guy with a foreign accent more than him. But the content of what was said, Darby had a more substantial like content of what he said. The man tries to sow discord in House of Black. He just says that they're better off without Malachi. He tries to bring them to the light, but I don't think they're gonna win. I think Sting is gonna turn on them. So yeah, my thoughts on this one are that House of Black should win, and they should become top faction. I think these factions here in AEW should have like periods of domination, especially the heel ones. Like they should be the main feature of the show sometime, like for a period of time. So after this, to close out the first hour, we got a humbled CM Punk cut a promo with teary eyes, looking all sorry for himself. The whole promo was him trying to like gain sympathy, that he came back too early, and he does something a bit weird here. He tries to shut down a heckler as he's trying to gain sympathy from the crowd. And this man should just control himself, because this was a bit jarring, since he's saying that he loves the fans, but then he calls this fat guy in the front row fat and a virgin. If he was like heading for a heel turn, like I think he is, it's all fine and well because it kind of reflects what people are saying about Punk. It's so disingenuous. But if he's gonna win clean against Mox, if he's not gonna turn heel, this is just gonna look weird. He needs to like look like a two-faced bitch right now because that's what he's projecting in his promos, as well as how he's perceived by like everyone. And then as he's about to like completely give up, Ace Steel interrupts him. And Ace Steel cuts a fucking promo. This road agent right here, who worked the indies during the Ruthless Aggression era, and I think only fans of the old indies know very well. And like, I don't think any of the new fans know him, like hardcore or not. Like, I only know him from TEW. Like, his face shows up in like these loading screens. So yeah, I kind of had an idea of who Ace Steel was, but like not really. I've never seen him work, and I doubt these fans know him too. Like if he worked in the indies in like the late 2010s, people would know him like more. But this guy worked in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. I kind of think he was like the wrong choice, or like at least introduce him earlier. At least have some like backstage segments. I think he was introduced too late in this feud. He should have been there like from week 1 of 4 of the build up to this feud. But he does cut like the best promo of the night. His promo was like so fucking good. And I don't understand why people are making fun of like this guy's promo. I mean, it's so good. So he introduces himself as CM Punk's trainer. And you know what? This is like the context we need. Now we know who he is. And he sort of has this like Mickey from Rocky sort of vibe. He cuts a ferocious promo that uses the F word very effectively. Like what a hype man this guy is. And he sort of saves a shitty angle, but not completely. Like for me, CM Punk still should not have lost last week. That really affected like people's perception with AEW. It was like a net negative, almost to the same degree with MJF. For me, it was that bad. But yeah, we get a CM Punk promo where he cuts it in the crowd and like the delivery is really good. It might have been as good as like Ace Steel's promo, but it's built in shitty foundations. You could have still had this promo even if Punk didn't lose last week. And people who are defending that angle, I think just trying to like desperately cling on to like the former goodwill that AEW has had. What I'm saying is you're just like being fanboys and not being objective. Like that didn't need to happen. You could have just had like a brawl with Mox and Punk and like just had Mox kick his ass and not have it be an official match. You could still do like the Rocky angle there. I would like to give this segment of the night. It certainly feels like one, but I just can't. Like none of the segments so far have hit very well. And that's mostly due to the build-up of the stories. Again, like what I said, almost none of the stories have proper build. Like this next one with Christian versus Jungle Boy. It's the best promo that Jungle Boy has cut in this whole program. Jungle Boy just like tries to bring Christian back to the light, but he reveals his true colors once again. He confirms his heelishness, and I think it doesn't like connect. Like I wish Christian had better reasons other than he just wants to make money. The best bad guys are the ones you can sympathize with, the ones who actually have a point, but here Christian is just a piece of shit. And honestly, like after this feud with Jungle Boy, after he loses, I don't know how he's gonna factor into anyone else's storyline. He's just gonna be another generic heel with his reasons. But maybe like it would make sense if he faces off against MJF. Because yeah, I don't see him having a feud with anyone else. Maybe TNT title, but is he honestly gonna beat Wardlow? And is he honestly gonna hold any other title? Yeah, this is gonna be the peak Christian Cage that we're gonna get. I think he peaked like when he cut those promos against Jungle Boy's family. And yeah, it's looking pretty bad for Christian Cage in AEW. I honestly think it would be nice if they like lend him over to the WWE. I think that after they took the teeth off Christian, after those 2 weeks of promos that he had when he was just like the best thing on TV, I think like it's not worth it anymore to like put him on TV after he loses. And this feud could have been so much better if they just kept escalating it every week instead of having it move horizontally. I think Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus should have had a match before Jungle Boy got to Christian. It should have happened at like one of those special Dynamites. It would have given us like a reconciliation between Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Or if we didn't get that reconciliation, it would have given us like another monster heel in the company. And it would have kept the feud hot. It would have been like an escalation and not just like shit happening just to move the chains. So yeah, big missed opportunity here. The feud has less heat than it did at the start. But I do think that Jungle Boy closes this out really well. But you could have still had this like exact same promo, probably with a lot more heat, if he had like 1 or 2 matches against Luchasaurus. Him like officially dropping the Jungle Boy name. Him like calling himself Luke Perry. Like the way he does it is like, I think the third best promo of the night. But again, just like with the Punk feud, it's built on bad foundations. So I can't give it segment of the night. Okay, so after this, I think is a pretty poor way to move on this feud. Like if you wanted to have a jobber match with FTR and Wardlow with the Pinnacle, it shouldn't be done days before All Out. Like they squash the opposing team in like 2 minutes or so, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The guy doesn't even tag in. But is this really how you should build up a feud? Instead of like them just having a confrontation with their opponents? Like I think there should be a final confrontation on Rampage. Because like this jobber match that was done very, very late wasn't it. Like we don't even get like a post-match segment. They just win and then it's done. Like why not just bring in Motor City Machine Guns? Like have them cut promos. Have them like show up on TV and like contribute to the feud. Other than just like bringing them for the final confrontation. So yeah, missed opportunity and poorly way to build up this feud. Oh my god, AEW, what's happening to you? If anyone should have had a squash match, it should have been the Machine Guns. So after this, we have part 2 of Jon Moxley's promo. It's him addressing Punk's acceptance of the match, and I think this is like better than the first one that he cut. Like, undeniably, Moxley can cut a promo. You have to be high to think that this is bad. Like, the angle is bad, but the delivery is really good. Like, he's just getting hate because he's not in the WWE. Like, guaranteed, if this guy was in the WWE, all of these criticisms of him will be gone. But he still has, like, some pretty bad punches. So yeah, it's basically more of the same from the first one, but better delivered. Segment of the night so far. So after this, we have the Dark Order backstage. So 10 is injured. Evil Uno's gonna replace him. And then fucking Andrade and Jose show up. They like offer money to Evil Uno in order to like recruit 10. But 10 says they're Dark Order forever, and then Andrade like shares to us his vision on how to improve 10. So Evil Uno tries to like prevent this from happening, and then Andrade hits him, and then Jose pulls a stun gun. And please, please, do not be dumb. Do not be fucking stupid. Like everyone at home, or like all of those stupid shits from Twitter. The guy did not stun gun 10. He did not stun gun 10. If you hold like a weapon in front of someone, it doesn't mean you hit him with the weapon. He's like threatening to hit him with that weapon. And why would you stun gun the person you're trying to like recruit? Are you fucking stupid? Or is it just like the American education system that's failing? But yeah, I think it's the right move for Cody Vance or 10 to leave the Dark Order. I think he would make a great third member of Gobernables. I think he has the face and the body to like be their enforcer. And Jose has to like stun gun Abrantes. That like has to happen now. So after this is the 4-way match between Dante Martin, Rush, Rey Fenix, and Wheeler Yuta. So these guys have a show stealer. Like, no question. It's a 4-way match. Of course it was going to be this way. They have like this really fast-paced match that went on for about 8 minutes, but there was no wasted motion in any of those 8 minutes. The match was very evenly matched, and just like all of AEW's like 3-way or 4-way matches, they managed to like involve everyone in the ring at the same time, or like as much as possible. There are some moments where it turns into a 1v1, but it's not as like dominant as it was back in the day, where like it just becomes a 1v1. Like even one of the greatest matches of all time, which was Benoit, Michaels, and Triple H, becomes 1v1 like most of the time. Like here, everything just happens. We get like 1v1s from everyone, like with all combinations, but it could like easily turn into an outside dive or like a multi-man interaction at the blink of an eye. This is how you do a TV show stealer. And like the moves they go for are just like so cool, and the finish is like a flash pinfall, so it doesn't really do disservice to anyone other than the winner itself, I think. So we have this moment where Rush hits everyone with like a cord, but this is a 4-way match, so there's no disqualification. Like I think everyone should know this by now. And I think the best performer of the entire match is Rush. Dante botches a bit, as well as Rey Fenix. They do this like poisoner on a spot, and it doesn't like really work out. But both Fenix and Martin were like the high flyers, so that happens, and they do the most spectacular stuff, but like the most solid is Rush. He has the in-ring charisma. We also had that like whole row of Hispanic fans just cheer for him, and I think he was tickled. And the man can also do outside dives and like awesome looking headbutts. And his like fake out of his finisher. But the winner of the match is Wheeler, and he plays an underdog role despite holding a championship, which doesn't really mean much. He takes a lot of big moves, but he somehow ends up winning the match, like in a flash pinfall sort of way. And I love just how like Wheeler moves around the ring. Although he does it with a lot less air than Dante Martin. But I see that he can develop into a good technical wrestler in the future. Like that's his style right now, and he's like okay to like almost good. But in his match with Daniel Garcia, it just wasn't like the most fun watch. His matches still plod. And if this wasn't like a multi-man match, I would have had the same reaction. And yeah, I love the finish to this match. It happens so fast, like in the blink of an eye. Wheeler goes for like his seat belt, which is a pretty complicated move to do. And it's not even something that like knocks someone out. It just like locks them up. It traps them for the pin. And this is what like a technical wrestler should do. So yeah, Wheeler goes for a springboard move. He then arm drags Dante Martin into the seat belt and for the win. So great win for Wheeler. But I think this officially eliminates him from winning the ladder match on the pay-per-view. It's like impossible if he wins now. He has like 0 chance when he had like 5%. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So for number 3, it's this destroyer spot by Dante Martin on Rey Fenix. And I like how this was just like, it like came out of nowhere. Like they didn't make it look that obvious. For the number 2 spot, it's the finish. I just love that Wheeler Yuta finishes matches with that move. It like protects his opponents actually. Like he has the luxury of getting a win over everyone, but it doesn't really hurt his opponents much. Since it's like a sneaky win. He sneaks his wins and he doesn't like make you tap or knock you out. It just like traps you like this. The seat belt is a really good finisher that protects your opponents. And then for the number 1 spot of the match, I really want to say it's when Rush does the fake out kick and like a pose and then Jose poses with him. But I'm just going to move that to like honorable mentions. The number 1 spot of the match is this whole sequence where Rush German suplexes Dante off of Wheeler. And then Dante just like clips Fenix with his leg, like breaking his fall. And then Wheeler goes for a missile dropkick on Dante, and then Rush hits him with his pile driver, the straight jacket one. So yeah, this match was really fun to watch. Just 8 minutes, could have been longer, but it gives us a preview of the 8-man ladder match. And I think MJF is gonna win it, like no question, it should be MJF. It's the perfect time to debut him, or have it be Brian Cage. But yeah, this match is like TV main event, pay-per-view undercard level of match. But I just like the women's match a little bit more than this one. So after this, we have like this backstage interview between Tony Schiavone and I think now is the main Dark Order team, John Silver and Alex Reynolds. And like the finals for the Trios tournament is looking very, very clear. And I think it's starting to make sense story-wise. But I also think that Hangman Page should have been there, like in the match when they beat House of Black. It sort of like lessens the loss for House of Black, and it would have yielded like a better match. And yeah, I think the Trios feud might be the best feud in the company right now. Like this is the best thing going for them right now. Like all of the matches, including the one with the Trustbusters, have been really good. And now that you insert Hangman Page in this team, it greatly like increases their chance of like winning the whole thing. So I think it's pretty obvious. The Elite against the Dark Order for the finals. And honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. The predictable thing is the Elite's gonna win. Tony Khan already spoiled it like months ago. That's what everyone's gonna think that's gonna happen. But for me, if Tony Khan still has an inkling of a good booker left in him, he would have the Dark Order win. He would not have the Elite win. Like honestly, I wanted House of Black to win in the first place. But now that Hangman is with the Dark Order, this like actually made the Trios tournament very unpredictable. And yeah, I think the Dark Order should win. It'll be easier to get the titles off of them. Like a lot easier than it is if the Elite have it. It would also elevate this Dark Order team so much. And as for the promo segment itself, it was alright. Like John Silver carries it. Hangman Page sort of just like shows up and then gains the face pop. The man is so over, and I think he should have still been champion. Like, after everything that's transpired, I think Hangman Page should have retained the title over Punk. And yeah, it now gets him in the card, it gets him in a feud, and it's gonna elevate that final so much, even if I originally wanted House of Black to win. So yeah, I might just review Rampage this week. So right before the main event, Excalibur just fumbles everything. It's the first week where he doesn't hit with his like really fast promotional talk. He fumbles a lot, but I'm interested with what's gonna happen with Dynamite next week. Because we're gonna get Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia for the Pure Championship. And I think this is it. I think Wheeler's dropping the belt. And I also think it's the right move. Like, I think Wheeler has carried the belt long enough and should do other things, like be participant to like an actual storyline feud. And then after this, we get like an announcement for the pre-show at All Out, and it's Tomohiro Ishii against Eddie Kingston. So I'm gonna have to review 0 Hour now. And then we have a pretty shitty announcement. The All Atlantic Championship is also gonna be in 0 Hour. What are you thinking? But I guess Kip just re-debuted and he doesn't really have a story going with him. Also, Pac hasn't really shown up or like defended the title on Dynamite. So I guess it's okay. So yeah, this is what the All Out card is looking like. So for the pre-show, it's going to be opened by Ishii versus Eddie Kingston, which I think might be the best opener for like a pre-show that we've had so far. And then Pac against Kip Sabian for the All-Atlantic Championship. Like, no surprise here. I would have wished that this match could have been on the main show, but it's a re-debut, it's a return for a floating title. That I don't think should have existed. And then we have Hook versus Angelo Parker squash match for the FTW Championship. And then Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho opens the show. I think this should be like later on in the card, since there's like no ratings in this pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view, for fuck's sake. And then we have the women's title match. We have House of Black against Sting, Darby, and Miro. We have the TBS Championship match. Jack Perry against Christian Cage. The 6-man tag team match between Wardlow and FTR against Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. The 8-man casino ladder match that I think MJF is going to be the Joker, and I think he's going to win. I mean, it's either the Joker or Andrade. And then it's the Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland versus the Acclaimed match for the tag team titles. I think the Acclaimed should win, but Swerve and Our Glory are going to win it. It's looking that way. And then we have Starks versus Hobbs, which can go either way. And then we have the 6-man tag team match, the Trios Championship match between the Elite against, I think, the Dark Order. And then the main event, Mox versus Punk. Okay, so the placement of these matches. I think either the Trios, the ladder, or the Danielson versus Jericho match should co-main. And I think Cargill versus Athena should open the show. Or the Wardlow and FTR against Lethal and the Machine Guns. Or hell, just bring up the Kip versus Pac match and have it open the show. So after this is the main event. So it's United Empire with Will Ospreay, Mark Davis, and Kyle Fletcher against the Elite with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So this is the match that we've all been waiting for. I think this should have been the finals when House of Black lost. Like, especially with the storyline between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. This should have been it. But yeah, I think this is going to be like the real finals. And then the finals itself is just going to be like a romp. But it probably won't be. But yeah, the intro to this was amazing. So Justin Roberts like does these intros for Kenny Omega now. And for this one, it's just him burying Ospreay the entire time. So it starts with like Kenny has a 1-0 singles record against Ospreay. He has a 3-0 record in trios matches against Will Ospreay. He's drawn larger crowds than Will Ospreay in 2 continents. He's also sold a lot more merchandise. He's won 8 more championships than Will Ospreay. And then it just becomes like funnier when it gets to like the appearance. So like Kenny Omega is better looking, has better hair, and does more charity work than Will Ospreay. And this really makes the crowd laugh. I don't think this is like the right move if you want to keep Will Ospreay. But after the match, he does tweet out that it's his like last match in AEW for now. And I think they're gonna build up to like a match at Wrestle Kingdom with Kenny Omega. Maybe have it be like a best of 3. Like have one match at Wrestle Kingdom, have Ospreay win, then have a match at AEW and then have Kenny win. And yeah, it could just go on from there. But the match is gonna happen. And I think Will Ospreay is gonna show up eventually in AEW on a more like, if not permanent, maybe for like longer periods of time. And then he just like shot at Kevin Nash. So there is like a very slim chance that he's going to follow his like girlfriend to WWE. So fuck off. And as for the match itself, we have 2 wrestlers that I don't like. One being extremely flippy back in the past, but not anymore now. But he was in the past, so he's like a piece of shit. And another who is self-trained, so I already don't respect him. But he also, like, I think, in my like personal opinion, did a net negative for the business because he did a lot of silly shit in DDT, even if that was like acceptable in Japan. And DDT is like pretty profitable right now. So yeah, matches like 0 out of 10. It shouldn't be anywhere, like on any platform or like to be seen live. It doesn't have enough wristwatches, and I'm just old and I hate all of these people. But that big dude has potential. Just kidding. Fuck off, Cult of Cornet. You're sounding like the Smarks that you hate. So just watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling again. Just like watch reruns till you fucking die. So for the match itself, it's not as airtight as the one last week against Death Triangle. There were some like almost botches. There were also spots that didn't work. And it was hard to keep track of the legal man. And there's this like completely unnecessary thing where they like head to the stage and they don't get counted out. Like this part here didn't need to happen. But when we get back to the ring, the Elite cut the ring in half. They beat Ospreay up, but then he manages to tag in his teammates. And then this like meh spot happens where Mark Davis scoop slams both of the Bucks. And it looks kind of hokey because it took 2 attempts to do, but it was like alright. And then the match breaks down. We then get like a breathtaking Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay spot, but it settles down again. With this time, United Empire cutting the ring in half, with like Kenny Omega getting beaten up. And then we get the like centerpiece storyline of the match, where Will Ospreay removes like the compression shirt. And this would have been better if like Kenny failed to do some of the moves, just like in his first match back. Like it would only make sense if this happens. And it could have added a lot to the match. It also would have played a lot into the storyline. But they decide not to do it. And then finally, we get the spot that I really wanted from the women's match. And that's the opponents catching the guy who's trying to make the tag. When Will Ospreay like pulls Kenny Omega back right when he's about to tag in the Jacksons. And then at minute 52 is where the match just like increases gear. And it starts when Nick Jackson enters. He manages to take out United Empire by himself. So he Canadian destroyers Will Ospreay. He does a Hurricane Rana and like an arm drag to Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis respectively, like at the same time. And then he kicks Ospreay outside. He delivers like a double facebuster to Aussie Open. And then he does like a moonsault tornado DDT to Will Ospreay on the outside. So if you do a match like this, I would prefer if it's like divided into 2 halves where the first is slow and then like it gradually speeds up. This one has like a lot of stop and go in it. It just makes the match feel a lot like messier. But yeah, thankfully it's like fast from here on out. So Will and Kenny have a strike battle. Kenny goes for like a running clothesline, but then Will Ospreay does like a Spanish fly motion into a Liger bomb. And then the match gets like even crazier. So United Empire go for their finish, the Coriolis, but instead of like Ospreay doing the Oscutter at the end, Nick Jackson does the Oscutter on Ospreay. The Elite take away the two members, and then they destroy Kyle Fletcher with this like awesome combination. So they toss Kyle Fletcher to Kenny. He does like a sandbag powerbomb, the one that Brock did to like Hardcore Holly. And then they go for the double super kick while Kenny goes for a V-trigger pinfall, is broken up at 2.9. And then we get maybe the worst spot of the night. This one here should not have happened. Like, I've been reading that this has happened before, but better. But here it doesn't really look that good. And it also doesn't make sense because the shooting star press is like going the other way. It's like a pulling type of move if you hit it as a Meltzer driver. And the 450 makes more sense. So Ospreay does a shooting star press for like a Meltzer driver, but then he barely gets any contact on Matt Jackson. And the contact doesn't look like it makes sense. Yeah, just do the Meltzer driver normally. So then we get to the finishing sequence. They super kick party Kyle Fletcher. And then when Kenny is trying to go for like the V-trigger on him, Ospreay goes for the save. He like V-triggers Kenny. He tries to hold off the Bucks. He goes for like a running attack, but then he flips right into like the Bucks. They get him into like a tombstone position. Perfect for the Indie Taker. And then the Bucks do the Indie Taker like without getting up the ropes. It's Nick boosted up by Matt, and then they do the Indie Taker on Ospreay. Spot of the match candidate right here. Like the normal two-man Indie Taker isn't impressive. It looks so like normal compared to like the other stuff they do. But like this trios version is much better. So this clears Ospreay out of the ring, and then Kenny does his like V-trigger and then One-Winged Angel for the win. So this match was a whole lot less tight than the match last week or the week before that. But it was okay. Like, it was still the best match in the card, filled with other really good matches. Like, for the quality that we've seen in this trios tournament and how it was built up, including like the feud behind this, it just didn't reach that height. So yeah, TV main event, pay-per-view undercard, level of match. So let's get to spots of the match. So for number 3, it's the cutter by Nick Jackson to counter the Coriolis effect. Surprising counter, I didn't see it coming. And it's pretty funny that Will Ospreay got hit with their own move, and like Nick was supported by the members of Aussie Open. For the number 2 spot of the match, it's this sequence where Nick Jackson just takes everyone out. By the way, Nick Jackson, MVP of the match. Even if Kenny was the one being spotlighted, it's undeniable that Nick Jackson here was the highlight and was responsible for like all of the top spots. And then for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the triple Indie Taker. Yeah, very well suited for trios matches for obvious reasons. But just imagine if they do this like outside the ring, like it was like made for. I think that's like the prime use of this move. So yeah, this match was really fun. But it was a whole lot messier than the matches we've had last week and the week before that. So in my opinion, this match is like a bit of a disappointment. And like the preview that it gives us of Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay isn't enough to like sate the appetites of the AEW fans. So yeah, after the match, they pose. Kenny cuts a promo off air. And then United Empire kick their ass. But that's non-canon since they didn't show it on TV, which I think they really should have. So yeah, this whole show really exposed how bad the booking is in AEW. Like the build for All Out was like fucking terrible. It's like the worst build of any pay-per-view of theirs so far. I think it's 2 straight pay-per-views now where the build hasn't been up to snuff, but this one was like the worst build. The matches were consistently good this week, but they did not reach the heights of the ones we've had previously. Actually, like as a whole show, this week's and last week's Dynamite were not as good as like the special ones that we've had, and especially not House of the Dragon. But this week and last week's show managed to reach like 1 million viewers each. So I'm guessing they're doing something right, even if it's not all that good. But yeah, hopefully the pay-per-view is so much better than the build. Match quality will for sure be there. And hopefully after the pay-per-view, things will start to simmer down in AEW and things will go back to normal. And hopefully the fucking week-to-week booking improves. Because ever since Vince McMahon left, it's like he's been booking AEW. And never was that more prominent than it was last week and this week. Kind of. So yeah, these are my match rankings. Just like pause and like if you want to ponder on these and if you want to like judge my tastes. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos. And please, watch my shit.